friends, I'm Miss Nancy Ruth. Let's look at more of the books of the Bible. I'm so proud of you. You're about halfway through and we're going to get there this week, this video, with our books of poetry. So, before we get there, let's review what we've learned. Let's see if you can do it out of order. We're going to go a little bit backwards. Ready? Okay, so Ruth shouts 1, 2, whee before running off to her job. What are the whee books that come right before Job? Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther. Good. What are the 1, 2 books? You remember my funny face? Whoops, I just dropped it. There we go. Remember my funny face? 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles. Okay? And so who is it that shouts 1, 2, whee before running off to her job? Ruth. That's right. So what comes before Ruth? Do you remember? Judges. Dude, Joshua judges Ruth. Okay? Let's see. What about what comes before Joshua? Dude, Deuteronomy, right? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua. Very good. Now, in the Old Testament, is it Corinthians or is it Chronicles? There's your answer. 1st and 2nd Chronicles comes first in the alphabet, so that's in the Old Testament. 1st and 2nd Corinthians comes later in the alphabet, so it's later in the Bible in the New Testament. Good. All right, let's do our books of poetry. Here we go. You're going to like this picture. It's very important because we have Job. Remember, Job in the Bible is pronounced Job because it's a man's name. Okay? Psalm starts with a P-S, and that reminds me of peas. Peas. Psalms. Peas is providing. Proverbs, providing. Excellent is like Ecclesiastes. Songs. Songs is, this is a funny book because it goes by 3 different names. Okay, so it goes by either Song of Songs, Song of Solomon, or Canticles, which also means songs. But they all have song in it somewhere. Okay, so songs, Song of Songs, Song of Solomon, Canticles. And then after that is Isaiah. So here we go. The job of peas is providing excellent songs for Isaiah. That's how we can remember these. Let's look at some of these books, but first we're going to say them all together with the real names of the book in front of you. Here we go. Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, or Song of Songs, or Canticles. Remember that Psalms has that PS, and Proverbs is PR. That's how you can tell quickly when you're flipping through the books where you don't have to read the whole word. You can just read that first 2 letters. Okay? So let's look at what's in these books. In the book of Job, it tells about the man named Job. And the man named Job had a really good life. He had lots of kids, lots of land, lots of money. Everybody liked him. That was Job. And he lived for God, and he was a man who loved God and lived for him. But then, Job lost everything. He lost all his children. He lost all his money. He even got sick and was hurt and had sores all over. And it was not good. That was Job. But even though all those bad things happened, Job still refused to curse God. He still worshiped God and tried really hard to figure out how to live for God when life was awful. And I love the end of Job because in it, God answers all these questions that Job has been asking. But he doesn't answer the way Job thinks he would. Instead, God says, look, I am God. I am greater than you could ever imagine. You are not going to be able to understand everything that I do, and that's okay. Trust that I am God. I am amazing. Look at all the things I have done. Now just trust me. That wasn't the answer Job wanted, but it was a good answer. So if you want to read that, read the last several chapters of Job where God speaks. It's pretty cool. I like turning there a lot. Next is Psalms. Psalms. The P is actually silent when you pronounce it, so it's Psalms. And Psalms is another way to say songs. Okay, but don't let it confuse you with the book that comes later. But the book of Psalms is kind of like a hymnal or like a worship book. It lists the lyrics to all these songs that David and some other people wrote to worship God. And so now we just have the poetry because we don't have the music. But if you read the book of Psalms and several of these, I think you'll think of several tunes that match because they've been set to music over and over again throughout the centuries. It's pretty amazing. So Psalms is a book of songs. It's like a hymnal. Okay? Next is Proverbs. Proverbs. Proverbs are wise sayings. King Solomon asked God when he first became king to make him wise. And God made him wiser than any man who ever lived before or will live after. Solomon was very wise. And he wrote down a collection of his wise sayings in Proverbs. And so this picture I found on the internet says, living wisely in God's world. And that's what Proverbs tells us how to do, how to live for God in this world. It's pretty interesting read. And some people I know read a chapter every day because there's 31 chapters in Proverbs and most months have 31 days in it. Next is Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes was also written by Solomon. He tried all these different things and wanted to find how to have a full life. And he tried all these different kinds of things. He tried making himself happy with this and more land and more property and more money and more other things and more food and whatever he wanted to do. He thought that'd give him the good life. And you know what he found out? That won't do it. Only living for God will give you a full life. And so several times in this book he says, everything under the sun was meaningless. Only living for God is what really matters. Okay, next is Song of Solomon, or Song of Songs, or Canticles. And this is a love song written for a husband and wife, and it also talks about God's love for us. The Song of Solomon, the Song of Songs, or the Song or Canticles. All right, so remember, our books of poetry, Job, which in the Bible is pronounced Job, the job of Peas is providing excellent songs for Isaiah. Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Song of Songs, Canticles, Isaiah. Okay, you know what? You have learned over half of the books of the Bible. Check this out. You can do all of these. Let's do them together. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua. Joshua judges Ruth. 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon. I am so proud of you. One more trick before I let you go. Don't forget, if you open your Bible in the middle, you'll get close to Psalms. I'm in Proverbs, and Proverbs comes before or after Psalms? After. So I'm going to go backwards a little bit till I get to Psalms. It starts with a PS. So to get to those wee books, the Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, I would start with Psalms because it's so close, right? Because after wee, Ruth goes off to her job, right? So wee goes off to her job, which is Job, and that's the first book of poetry. So you can use this as a bookmark to help you find any of those books very quickly. Keep practicing. I'll see you later, my friends.